Hey guys, and welcome back to Mouse Ears Times 3. Today you have Anna, and I'm going to be reading you a story out of this book that has a bunch of Disney stories to read, and it's super fun. So if you're ready to listen, let's go. Okay, so I'm going to be reading Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. I have a special someone with me, Winnie the Pooh himself. So let's get on to reading the story. Okay. Like most small boys, Christopher Robin had toy animals to play with, and they all lived together in a wonderful world of make-believe. His best friend was a bear called Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh for short. Now Pooh had some very unusual adventures, and they all happened deep in the 100-acre woods where Christopher Robin played. It was the enchanted neighborhood of Christopher Robin's childhood. Winnie the Pooh lived in the 100-acre wood all by himself under the name of Sanders, which means he had the name over the door in gold letters and lived under it. One day when Pooh was sitting by the fire warming his hands, he heard his clock strike. When he heard that sound, he knew it was time for something. But what could it be? Since he was a bear of little brain, he had to think about it in the most thoughtful way he could. "Oh yes," he said at last, getting to his feet. "Time for my stoutness exercises." And he stood before the mirror and began to touch his toes and straighten up while he sang a little song. "When I up, down, touch the ground, it puts me in the mood. Up, down, touch the ground, in the mood for food." After finishing his exercises, Pooh wondered what to do next. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning, just the time for something sweet. So he went to his cupboard and took down a jar of honey. But the jar was empty. "Oh, bother," said Pooh, "there's only a little left," and he pushed his face deep into the honey pot so he could lick the last bit. While he had the honey pot over his face, a bee flew in the window and buzzed past Pooh's ear. "That buzzing noise means something," said the bear. "The only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee." He pulled the pot off of his face and watched the bee fly out of the window. "And the only reason for being a bee is to make honey." Pooh followed the bee outdoors and watched it fly into a hole in a nearby tree. "And the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it." Eagerly, Pooh headed for the tree and started to climb. He climbed and he climbed and he climbed, and as he climbed, he hummed a little hum to cheer himself up. The climb was getting harder and harder, and Pooh was swinging dangerously on a very thin branch. "Creak! Oh, help!" said Pooh as he dropped to the branch below. "If only I hadn't, you see, what I meant to do," he said, bumping from branch to branch. "It all comes, I suppose, from," he said as he flew gracefully into a prickly bush, "from liking honey so much. Oof, oof, oh bother." He crawled out of the bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and sat down to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. So Winnie the Pooh went to see his friend Christopher Robin, who lived in a tree trunk in another part of the forest where he could be near his friends and help them. Christopher had just finished nailing on Eeyore's tail. The donkey, who was forever losing his tail, looked at him gloomily. "Thanks," he said. "It's not much of a tail, but I'm sort of attached to it." Just then Pooh arrived. "Good morning, Christopher Robin," he called. "Good morning, Winnie the Pooh," said Christopher Robin. "If it is a good morning," said Eeyore, "which I doubt," and he jogged off. Pooh looked at the toys in front of Christopher's house. "I just said to myself coming along, I wonder if Christopher Robin has such a thing as a balloon about him. I just said to myself while thinking of balloons and wondering." "What do you want a balloon for?" asked Christopher as he untied a blue balloon. Winnie the Pooh looked carefully in all directions to be sure that no one was listening. Then he put his paw near his mouth and growled in a deep whisper, "Honey." "But you don't get honey with a balloon." "I do," said Pooh. "How?" asked Christopher, handing him the string of the balloon. "I shall fly like a bee up to the honey tree, see?" And Pooh floated up in the air with the balloon. Christopher caught him in just enough time. "Oh, Pooh, you can't fool the bees that way." "Wait and see," said Pooh. He went to a very muddy place that he knew of and rolled in the mud until he was black all over. "Now," he explained, "I'll be a little black rain cloud under the sky blue balloon." Christopher Robin smiled at Pooh affectionately. "Silly old bear," he said. They walked over to the honey tree together, Pooh holding on to the balloon and Christopher Robin holding on to Pooh. Pooh pointed up at the hole and asked Christopher Robin to aim him at the bees. Christopher gave the bear a little lift in the right direction, let go suddenly, and there was Pooh Bear floating gracefully up into the sky, level with the bee's nest, but about 20 feet away from it. "Hooray!" Christopher Robin shouted. "How do I look?" Pooh called down. "You look like a chubby bear holding onto the string of a balloon," said Christopher. "Careful, Pooh, hold on tight." "I'm only a little black rain cloud," Pooh sang. "Pay no attention to little me." Pooh Bear floated closer to the hole and reached a paw in for some honey. A bee flew out and buzzed around his nose. "Christopher Robin," Pooh called, "I think the bees suspect something. Go ahead and get your umbrella and walk around saying, 'Tut tut, it looks like rain.' I think it would help fool the bees." Christopher Robin returned with his umbrella, and Pooh sang a little cloud song, such as a rain cloud might sing. But the bees were buzzing more suspiciously than ever. Some flew out of their nest and gathered round and round the cloud as it began the second verse of its song. One bee even sat down on the cloud's nose. Then a swarm of angry bees attacked the balloon. It began to lose air, and Winnie the Pooh floated slowly down toward the ground. "Christopher Robin," Pooh called. "Oh, bother, I think I shall come down." But Christopher caught him before he could hit the ground. Using the umbrella as a shield, they splashed across a mud pond, leaving the angry bees behind. "I've been thinking," Christopher Robin said Pooh as they sloshed across the pond, "and I've come to a very important decision. Christopher Robin, you never can tell with bees." Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you liked the story of Winnie the Pooh and the Honeybee Tree. And I would like to give a shout out to my little cousins, McCall and Maris. They inspired me to read that story, and I love you so much. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like. And we'll see you next time on Mouse Ears Times 3.